Blog Talk Radio.
Across the country and around the world, streaming live on the internet, it's Real Estate Coaching Radio, bringing you the latest news, interviews, and secrets of the top producers. Hosted by award-winning real estate coaches, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back to Real Estate Coaching Radio, broadcasting live from lovely, sunny Austin, Texas, and of course, this is the nation's #1 source for unfiltered, full-strength honesty about what is truly working in the real estate industry. And today, as we like to feature, we have a very special guest, longtime coaching client, Mark Shandrow. So, Mark, without any further delay, welcome to the call. Mark? Mark, we can't hear you. So as Mark figures out his communications errors, we will, there he is. Hold on a second. Mark, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry,
I'm
I had
here,
unmuted the wrong caller. No problem. So, Mark, welcome to the call.
Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. Glad to be here.
A lot of the foibles of doing a live radio show are always challenging and stressful. So, Mark, tell them a little bit about yourself, where you sold real estate, what market you're in, how long you've been in real estate, all that good stuff.
Sure. I appreciate that. Well, Tim, I've been selling real estate for about 8 years. I have been selling here in Southern California, primarily Long Beach, California, which is just about 20, 30 minutes south of Los Angeles, right on the coast. And, I have been, one of my biggest, the biggest things that really changed my life in real estate and in business is really doing what we're doing here, getting involved in coaching, learning from others like yourself and Julie, and really that's really taken my business to the next level.
Well, I appreciate that. And, guys, one of the reasons I asked Mark to be featured today on our radio show was because he's done something that a lot of people talk about. Well, actually, he's done many things that a lot of people talk about. I'm thinking, Mark, is your recent trip to Monaco, driving the Ferrari along the coast. I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about the fact that you've actually, and this is the one that I think will raise a lot of eyebrows, Mark's actually essentially made himself into a multi-millionaire, and in doing so, he's actually transitioned out of being in the real estate business. So what I wanted, and the reason I asked Mark to be on the radio show today is because I want you guys to realize that the skills a lot of you learn to be successful in real estate are directly applicable to other industries. So today we're going to be talking to, we're going to be asking Mark, we're going to be digging deep into finding out really kind of what goes on the mind of somebody who's able to achieve success so quickly and really achieve the success in multiple different industries. So, Mark, I'm setting the bar pretty high. Are you up for it?
Yeah, no, I'll see what I can do.
All right, good. So you've been in coaching for, remind me how long? I think it's been almost your whole career, hasn't it?
Yeah, I was really lucky, when I joined, when I decided to get into real estate, real quickly, the main thing that got, I had come off about 8 years for another business that I was involved in, a nonprofit, and working as the executive director for that. Then I took a few months sabbatical, and then I got my real estate license, thinking that I would be a buy and flipper. My goal was to get your real estate license, go out there, find properties, rehab them, flip them, put them back on the market, make money and live like that. I quickly realized that was not going to provide me the monthly cash flow that I needed to support my new wife and my newborn baby, 1-year-old baby. And I was lucky. I went to Keller Williams' office, and I interviewed a bunch of different offices. I ended up getting to a Keller Williams office and really made a connection with the local broker there, who taught me everything he knew. Unfortunately, in 3 or 6 months. It was a great experience. It got me on the ground working, and then at that point, I realized that I needed someone to coach with or to work with that really had a bigger understanding of real estate, not just the scripts and dialogues, which are incredibly important, but really how do you grow your business, how do you set it up to be more automated, all of those things. And that's actually when we started working together, Tim. It was about 7.5 years ago now.
It's kind of scary to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It is.
Mark, so in the past almost 10 years that we've been together, there certainly have been some massive changes in the real estate industry. And one of the things you've done extremely well is you've ebbed and flowed with what the changes were. You didn't really consternate too long on the fact that the market changed back in '07. I mean, maybe there was a month or two where it kind of took you by surprise, but after that, you just seized the market opportunity that was in front of you. So in the last decade of being a top producer in California, and now I know you owned your own brokerage. That was the ultimate form of your own real estate business, being your own broker, the Shandrow Group. But tell the folks what kinds of changes you faced in the decade long that you were almost in real estate, and how did you overcome those?
That's a great
and
that's a great question. I think there's a couple of things that really stand out in my mind, and it's funny as I can kind of remember back to when we started first coaching, Tim, and you were teaching me and showing me the ropes on how to take expired listings, how to knock on for sale by owners, and really working your sphere of influence. And it took a while, 6-12 months to get that going, and that was starting to crank, and that was moving along great. And then all of a sudden the market changed, and it wasn't an overnight thing. It was a 6-12 month deal. But the great thing is, you really put me in the forefront of starting to do short sales. I remember I was probably one of the first agents in Long Beach in this last cycle to do a short sale. It was so crazy. No one was like, what's a short sale? The escrow company had no idea about it. This particular client, we were able to get Litton. I remember this was back when Litton was around, to give this client even relocation assistance. It was totally foreign. And, I was able to get a jump on that. And that helped me deal with the transitions because I had a plan. I knew that there was something in place that I knew how to do that was different than other agents in my marketplace, and I was good at it. And then from there, I slowly transitioned into doing short sales. And I remember one of my best months in real estate was I listed 19 short sales in 1 month, and that was me going on appointments, sitting down with sellers, telling them exactly what it needed to take to get their property sold, and it really blossomed. My business took off, and we had, we were doing 30, 40, 50 short sale transactions on a regular basis. And then again, it changed again.
Yeah, well, it changed again, but in your marketplace, you're talking about average commissions that were $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. And so while everyone else was sort of licking their wounds trying to, and by the way, I remember actually, Mark, because the turning point for the market was September of '07, because I actually remember being on a coaching call with you when you told me about your pendings falling out because a lot of the subprime lenders in Southern California also, ironically, had gone out of business. So that coaching call with you was a real proof that the market was significantly changing and it was going to go towards the direction of distressed real estate. And as a lot of you guys know, we were the first and the largest training company in the nation to bring short sales. So many of you learned to do short sales because you were involved in our short sale training at some point. Now, I'm going to really drill down on something Mark just said, and actually it's reinforcing something that Marty Rodriguez said, who we interviewed just the other day. She's the #1 Century 21 agent in the world. And she said the key to long-term success is the Wayne Gretzky quote, right? All the other skaters go to where the puck is, and I skate to where the puck is going to be. And so when you hear Mark say he was doing short sales back before anyone knew what the word meant, he's not kidding, because the puck was, he was where the puck was going to be, not where everyone else was. And what's happening now in the marketplace, guys, is we're at the beginning stages of a 7 to 10 year real estate boom. Some of you are experiencing that in earnest, and some of you are just getting started feeling that. But the reality of it is we're in another real estate cycle, and I'm here to tell you that is where the puck is going to be, in an ever-improving, strengthening market. So get there. Get your mind around that idea. So Mark, like you transitioned to short sales, and then I know you became a really top REO agent in the nation, let alone California.
Yeah, correct. We started doing short sales, and like you said, it's funny. I can remember, during that call, I can remember at that time period, I had several transactions that halfway through the transactions, the subprime lenders went out of business. They just disappeared. They disappeared, and you couldn't get them online. It's because they lost all their funding. went to the short sale market, did really well, excelled at that, and then, one of the next things we started doing was valuation, BPOs and broker price opinions, which just naturally rolled into the REO market. And then it kind of, that exploded. We were selling 100 to 150 REOs a year, where that dominated a majority of my business. And, granted, it was great, made a lot of money. We had all the skills and the systems in place, and again that changed. So it went from the equity to the short sale market to listing REOs, and now back to again equity. It's kind of like it's always moving, and I think that's the biggest challenge that I've had in the business is just being. It's like it seems like whenever you feel like you have it figured out and you're doing it. It's like that's when you should change. You should start figuring something else out because it's only right around the corner.
Well, basically you're talking about complacency, right? Where you think you've got it all figured out, that's when you know you're being complacent. So,
yes.
Okay, so now let's shift gears. Let's pivot the conversation. You have shifted your focus, and now you have involved in yourself in a completely different, unrelated industry. And so tell the listeners a little bit about what you're doing now and give them an idea of how you've been able to use what you learned in your real estate business to apply to this incredibly lucrative business you're involved in now. And by the way, guys, this is not an MLM pitch. This is nothing like that. Mark is not going to – he's just telling you what he has specifically done. And what's interesting is how what he learned in real estate is literally a lot of the things he can use to this business and for many other businesses that he's involving himself in now. So, Mark, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's been an amazing experience for me. I'm really very lucky and honored to have this opportunity. But essentially, what happened was, one of my good friends in college, suffered for many years with a drug addiction. He was a heavy addict and went through many treatment programs and eventually found himself out here in California 5.5 years ago. And finally got sober, and then approached me and was like, "Hey, Mark, I'd like to start this business. We'd like to provide alcohol and drug recovery services for people here in Southern California," and asked me to help him. And he approached me because he knew my real estate business was successful, and he wanted some help with the marketing and how do you generate clients, how do you bring in clients, and it's odd is that I really, like Tim said, I really took a lot of my marketing experience with generating leads, converting leads, with real estate just to this business, and so. We started pretty small. It was just him, myself, and another partner, and we grew it. Now, believe it or not, 4.5 years later, we have 260 employees. We have over 200 beds. We have 30 houses. We have, it's a really big company now. And really all it is the exact same principles I learned when I was growing my real estate brokerage. Bringing in the leads, converting the leads, and providing superior service. And it's the same thing in that business as it is in real estate. It's ironic how identical it is. In fact, I am putting together now email drip marketing campaigns for our recovery business that are based on exactly the unique selling propositions that I did for my real estate business. It's really
wow, that's cool.
It's interesting how it just it goes across I guess what I've learned in this is that when you really learn these business skills and you get good at running a business, you can apply those skills to almost any business.
Well, so what are those disciplines, Mark? What are if you could kind of like focus down on the 5 or 6 or 3 or 4, what are the specific skills that any successful business owner or an entrepreneur has to master to be successful long term?
All right. That's a good question. The first one I think is knowing your numbers. You need to know your numbers. How many calls are you getting? What are those calls being converted? What's your average commission? You need to know your numbers. You need to know how effective you are. If you don't have your numbers, it's impossible for you to get a gauge on how healthy your business is doing. And one of the things that you taught me, Tim, and I use this till today, is what we call kind of a flash report. Every single one of the employees that reports to me, whether it's my real estate business or my recovery business, sends me a daily email with their numbers, right? What they did, what their productivity was, and I think that's the most critical thing is to watch the health of your company. Is you need to see these numbers, you need to understand them. The second thing is adaptability and flexibility. You can't. Whenever you're getting complacent, like we were talking about, you've got to really wonder. You're being complacent. It's not because you got it mastered. It's because you're about to get run over. You need to be constantly willing to adapt. With real estate, it was short sales. It was going to REOs, doing property valuations, doing rentals, things like that. And here in the recovery world, it is adjusting with the insurance, adjusting from cash pay to insurance pay, understanding what in-network and out-of-network is, and modifying our business to go in the direction, like you said, go to where the puck is going to be. And like in recovery, where we see the puck is going to be, it's going to be all in-network. It's going to be, you need to be, CARF certified, these certifications, so constantly moving in the direction of what the future is. And, I think the most important thing, and this is the biggest thing, is you have to have a mentor or a coach. You have to. I feel it's almost impossible to get to this level without working with somebody who's either been there or knows how to get there and can give you really and help you with the roadmap. A lot of times I get lost in the forest, and I need you, Tim, to kind of go, Mark, you need to, are you focusing on this? Why are you focusing on that? And really set your priorities. And it's every day you've got to, it's like, you got every single day you've got to wake up and go, okay, where's the bacon? Every single day you need to get up and go, okay, where are my new clients coming from today? You can't sit down and expect that clients are going to come to you. You've got to start every single day like at ground zero. And you go out there, and if you do your lead generation, you do your prospecting, and you follow your numbers, you make sure your numbers are on track, and you have someone that can help you get there, you're bound to be successful.
Mark, if you don't mind, and you can pass on this question if you'd like, do you mind sharing with the listeners really how big of a business in just a very short time this recovery business has become?
Well, we have, I'll tell you, we have, we've gone from, 0 to 260 employees. Our monthly expenses for this company are $2.2 million. We generate, last year we, did about $25-30 million in revenue. This year we should double it, between 50 and 60 million in revenue.
And so you're talking about a business that realistically has a market valuation if you were to sell it, or if you were to seek out investors and sell a portion of it. What's the multiple on something like that? 3 times, 5 times? How does that work?
Yeah, it could be. It depends. It could be between 3 and 5. So last year, we had what's called EBITDA earnings before interest, taxes, and appreciation, between 6 and 7 million. So let's say on a low side at 3 million. 3 times EBITDA. You're looking at 18 million to 30, 40, 50 million. Depending upon what kind of partners and how they're valuing it. But it's up there. It's nice. I am not complaining.
You're a third owner of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
to give you an idea, I had just one last. My taxes for last year were just shy of 7 figures.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Did they send you a nice Christmas card? Did the IRS send you a nice Christmas card? Maybe a gift basket?
They should. Be nice.
So, Mark, you're becoming what I'm sure everyone would agree is rich. You have really crossed the threshold, and you're at the point where your money is really starting to work for you, and you no longer have to work for your money, which, guys, is the really bottom line definition of what being financially rich is all about. So did reaching this level, I'm curious, take longer than you would have expected looking back 7 or 8 years, or shorter? And what would be some of the suggestions you'd make to other people that want to follow in your footsteps?
That's a great question. And did it take longer? I think that it took longer to get, kind of like the first million. But after that, it was like a ramp, and that's what honestly, I think I've surpassed the amount of wealth that I thought I was going to earn in my lifetime now. Of course, I'm only 42, and I'm not even finished. So it really starts escalating quickly. It took a long time to develop the base, but once I had the base figured out, it kind of fell into place. And I won't say, I had a great lifestyle when I was a real estate broker as the only business. And it was great, We would go to Europe every year or somewhere to travel, we had flexible schedule, my family and I, we had a great lifestyle. Now we have an exceptional lifestyle, so it's always been good. I think the biggest thing that I see agents and other people struggling with is they don't seem to have a plan and they don't have any daily accountability. They don't know what to do on a daily basis to move themselves forward.
Well, so you said three things there that I'd like to ask you further questions about. You said base, and you said earning your first million was the hardest, and that's, of course, something that everyone's heard before, right? Your first million's the hardest. And then you said base and then accountability. So tie all those thoughts together. Your first million was the hardest to earn because of why?
Because of learning the habits necessary to be successful.
Consistently, right?
Consistently, yes.
So what would those habits be, Mark? Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, it's fine. I think in real estate those habits are prospecting daily. I read one of the quotes that really got me going and motivated in real estate, and I was focused on was, if you spend the majority of your time every single day looking for business, you will be successful, guaranteed. And that's the biggest thing, focusing on generating new business every single day consistently, and that's the habit. How do you build that into your lifestyle? How do you build that into your work schedule? Making sure, and I still do that, believe it or not, even in this business, in the recovery business where I have 20, 30 people reporting to me, I still spend a good part of my day. Where are we getting a new business? What's the new business relationships looking like? All of that, constantly still going back to the basics and the fundamentals of prospecting and lead generation, really.
Mark, what were the biggest misconceptions that you had, past tense, about people like you've become, present tense? Before, looking back, if you can, it's an interesting question, isn't it? Looking back, and if you're looking forward at the current Mark, the guy with the multi-million-dollar net worth, the guy that's been able to, transition seemingly seamlessly from one industry to the other, what were the misconceptions, the biggest misconceptions that you would have had about someone like you, or maybe you perceive people have about you?
I think, we've talked a lot about this, Tim. I think a big part is, I thought that people with a lot of money were evil in a lot of ways, I think growing up in the environment that I did had a lot to do with that and kind of the college and education. I think that, having a lot of wealth equated to, something that was wrong. And it took me a while to kind of get through that and realize that, when you have the opportunity, the wealth, you have incredible opportunities, and just from the basics of donating money to charity, the amount of money that I donate to charity now, surpasses, back when I was 20, my annual income, so I think that's really the biggest thing, and really adjusting to how fluid money is. It flows crazily. It's not something that's stagnant. It's always moving, and if you get in the right place at the right time and you're working hard and you're focused, it's not that hard to accumulate. I feel now that I operate from a position of abundance as opposed to being from a position of scarcity. Does that make sense?
So, yeah, it does. And Mark, what I heard you say is basically the people that have wealth, the people that have the lifestyle that a lot of people admire, the people that, like you did, travel to Monaco and drive Ferraris around and, all the rest of it, people that are experiencing those things are doing so because they have figured out how to be of service to enough people at a high level. In other words, people are willing to pay a price, and enough people are willing to pay a price to do business with Mark at some level that it's made him wealthy. So if you find yourself in a life that does not provide you with the abundance that you desire, and you also heard Mark say that he had to sort of psychologically work around the fact that he had been sort of trained to loathe rich people. It's kind of a burden a lot of us carry. And if you just essentially acknowledge the fact that people are generally wealthy, 99% of the people out there are wealthy, are self-made. They didn't inherit their money. That's kind of a myth. And they're self-made, and they are successful. They are wealthy because of the fact that they've been able to figure out how to service enough people at a high enough level. Guys, just embrace that concept, and it makes things so easy because it allows you to sort of release sort of the, I don't know what you want to call it. Mark was implying it was sort of a learned psychological mooring line to actually accumulation, to actually wealth building, because you would, and I used to think this too, you know, rich people are somehow evil. After all, that was what you were trained. But the reality of it is rich people are some of the most generous people in the world because they can afford to be, and they're rich in the first place because they are producing some product that is being of enough service to enough people that they're willing to pay a lot of money for it in great quantities so that they can produce a great profit and make themselves wealthy. Guys, that is the formula. And there's nothing evil about being of service to other people. That is the core function that all of us have on this earth. You know, so Mark, that had to be liberating for you because let's be honest, you are somebody who I think would be classified as a fairly liberal-thinking fellow. Agreed?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I you hit it right on the head. I mean, absolutely. You know, and I always am thinking back. You know, in my head is, you know, the more people you help, the more successful you're going to be. I mean, really, that's what it comes down to. And you're right. You know, most wealthy people made it. You know, in this country, most wealthy people made it on their own. It wasn't given to them. That's a small percentage, and that's. You know, that's exciting, you know, I think, you know. I mean, it's not that hard to obtain.
Mark, without getting into any details, we had our coaching call earlier today, and you were telling me that you went to a baseball game with a guy who is essentially in the very, you know, he's not been in this particular business that he's in for very long. Didn't you say he was about his business is making $300,000 a day?
Yep, a day. Yep.
A day.
I mean, it's you know what else I think is one thing that I've learned that's been invaluable is, you know, and we talk a lot about like this, you know, once you have it and make it, you have this like mindset that you'll never go backwards. It's this weird feeling, you know, like I remember, you know, this is a weird story, you know. There was this girl when I was in college who came from a relatively wealthy family, and you know, she showed me one of her ATM slips, you know, and she had like $15,000 in her bank, and at that time I was like, oh my God, you're 22 and you have 15. How is that? You know, I had like 600, right? Or I'm bouncing up against a $20 daily you know, you know, and now, you know, I look at my bank account and it's a lot bigger than that, and it just seems natural almost. You know, it's like it's weird. You know, you break through these certain barriers, and all of a sudden your mindset is like, no problem, of course, why not? You know, and you know, now I can definitely see myself having $500 million in the bank and not having a problem with it, and it being normal and not going back to $20 in the bank.
Isn't it interesting, Mark, that it's the mindset ultimately is the greatest barrier to entry, essentially, of wealth accumulation. It's not the actual product that you have to produce. So the product you have to produce is relatively easy because it's easy to find ways to make money. Making money is simple. It's basically moving the stuff around in your head that will allow you to really be successful. That's what's kind of fascinating from a coaching perspective. That kind of relates to what you just said, I think.
Yeah, it's all of those preconceived ideas in your head are what hold you back.
So, Mark, at your level, I'm curious, what's next for you? You mentioned $500 million in the bank, but, you know, what's next for you? What are you really focusing on? What are you looking forward to? So if we do another interview in another 24 months, tell me about what we'll be talking about then.
You know, my next venture, which is, you know, where I'm focused on now, is, you know, I'm building this company to a point where, you know, I'll have a $500 million valuation or $1 billion, you know, $100 million, you know, $500 to $700 million valuation, and continuing to go and develop other businesses and accumulate I am now more interested in buying other operating businesses with high profit margins than before buying lots of other real estate. Before I was very focused on buying, which I still am, buying rental properties, investment properties, things like that. Now I'm excited about buying and starting other businesses that can replicate what we're doing and growing them and helping more people. It's all about back to that. It's all about helping more people. So, if we're helping, last year we helped 330 people, in this business. This year our goal is 700 to 800. I'd like to help, a couple thousand a year, and that's the goal, is continuing to help not only our clients but also my employees achieve the goals that they want.
So, Mark, why you? I mean, this is you've been successful in real estate at what I think will historically be remembered as the hardest. I have no doubt 20, 30 years from now we'll be looking back upon this 7 to 10 year period as a depression, right? And maybe we're still pulling out of it in different parts of the country. But despite that, Mark, you've been successful in that industry. You've transitioned successfully, and now you're becoming very wealthy in this other industry. So why you? What makes you so special? I mean, you sound like a normal guy.
Yeah, I am a pretty normal guy. I came from a middle-class family. My dad was, in the military, and, I was a Navy brat. And, part of it is why not. I think that, the thinking that I have and the drive is a big part of it, is, getting up early and hitting it every day, and the constant, reading lots of books and just being in tune with it and wanting it and having it as a real goals. I think anybody can accomplish it. It's just, how dedicated are you going to be and how focused. I don't think I was born with any kind of, I'm not like a crazy athlete. I didn't score very well on my SATs. I don't have a lot of those natural gifts. And
you're not a boxer. We know that from recent experiences, right?
I'm not a very good boxer. I know how to box, but I'm not very good at it. Exactly. So. But I think it's constantly challenging yourself, keeping yourself out of complacency, and I've always wanted, ever since I can remember, I wanted to be rich.
Why?
I think a lot of it has to do with wanting the wanting the freedom and wanting to be part of being able to do whatever you want and travel wherever you want, and I enjoy my life. I travel a lot. Like you said, I rent Ferraris in Monaco. I go to Europe, South America. I'm going to a Mayweather fight, and I've been to several. The tickets are you'll spend $20,000 on a weekend, and I like to do that. I like to live a big life. It's exciting and it's fun, and it's fun to be inspirational to others. And I think there's a way that I think you can live your life so that I think you said to me once, it's really, how powerful is it when you can run into somebody on the street and you can give them a few sentences that can change their life. And I think with coaching, and I think with being in tune with how you are to be of service to the world, you can do that. And I think that's a great power to have.
And guys, listen, Mark is exceptional, of course, but he's not exceptional in that the path that you can follow, that he followed, is what coaching is all about. I mean, guys, at the end of the day, the skills are portable to other industries, to your life, really, your lifestyle, the way you approach life. The biggest thing that I heard Mark say, and he's probably forgetting, I think, in a lot of ways, or not giving himself enough credit, is the mental process of going from thinking like somebody who is middle class, and there's nothing wrong with being middle class. I was middle class. Mark was middle class. To having the mindset of somebody who feels comfortable and easily accumulates money, riches, experiences, success. That is a shift that once you've experienced it, and I pretty much can guarantee you, Mark, everybody who's listening today at some level has felt that shift happen in them because of the honesty and the transparency you provided for today's interview. So I want to really thank you for being our interviewee today and being my co-host for the radio show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, my pleasure, Tim, and I'm happy to. I mean, you've given me, you and Julie have given me, everything really, with the coaching and the mentoring. I could. There's no question I could not be where I am without that support. And I look forward to our calls on a regular basis. And one of the things that gives me excitement now is being able to work with other students and coach them. I think that's really the next level is being able to give that back and provide that support. And if you're not involved in some sort of coaching, whether it's Harris Real Estate University with Tim and Julie, with the lack of structure that exists in the real estate industry, it is almost impossible without some sort of leadership and coaching support. You're just going to spend too much time doing the things and thinking of too many things that are going to not get you to the right position.
Especially nowadays. I mean, there are more challenges.
Yes.
There are more things that are distracting agents. It's crazy. Actually, it's easier to become wealthy and make a lot of money, sell a lot of houses than it was, say, 20 years ago. But at the same time, it's harder because agents are given so many choices and there's so many distractions. I mean, you check your voicemail and there's 10 calls from guys trying to sell you buyer leads. You check your email, same 10 calls guys have sent you emails. I mean, it's crazy right now. But, Mark, listen, I really appreciate it, and I sincerely appreciate and have appreciated and will continue to appreciate the honor of being your coach.
Thank you. It's certainly my pleasure. It's an amazing experience, definitely.
I look forward to the next 10 years. So, everyone, we'll talk with you tomorrow, and have a great day.
Thank you.
This program has been a presentation by Tim and Julie Harris, Real Estate Coaching. For more information on our real estate coaching and training programs, visit our website at timandjulieharris.com. Remember to tune in weekdays at noon for upcoming shows. And until next time, thank you for listening to Real Estate Coaching Radio with Tim and Julie Harris.